Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. What will Deontay Wilder do now? What is Deontay Wilder going to do? It seems to be he's got the most options and potentially the most leeway to step into a big fight, whereas Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they could potentially face each other, but that seems more unlikely. Some of it because of money, but mostly I think because of broadcasting issues in the United Kingdom. But Deontay Wilder, he could face Anthony Joshua. He could face Tyson Fury. He could face Dominic Breazeale. That's probably more of an outside chance. I think at this point, Deontay Wilder wants the biggest fights. And the WBC seems to want to make some accommodations for him. They seem to want the big fights too, because at the end of the day, that's good for them. The more money, the bigger the sanctioning fees for them. But the question is, what happens now? And the cogs are turning now. Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's promoter, is in the United States. You can see here this Twitter shot, Eddie Hearn, London to LA, this shot from the plane here. He's letting everybody know, I'm coming. He's letting everybody know that what he said he was going to do in terms of making that fight, doing everything that he could, that he is trying to do that. And obviously the optics of him traveling to the United States, traveling to where Deontay Wilder and his management are. I mean, Wilder may not be there, he may not be part of it. It might more be Shelley Finkel or other representatives. But Eddie Hearn is doing what we would expect him to do if he really wants to make this fight for April the 13th. And they need to get cracking here, because while April the 13th is effectively 5 months away, they want to announce this fight by the end of this month. And the clock is ticking. It really is ticking, because Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora are fighting on December the 22nd. And we've heard that, look, if a deal isn't cut by the time that fight happens, that the winner could potentially, of that fight, could be the opponent. I think it's more likely if Dillian Whyte wins that he's going to get the fight. Derek Chisora, I'm not so convinced that they would give him that fight. Just because, I mean, are you really interested in that fight? I'm not sure I'd want to buy it. But in terms of, and I know that's a controversial sort of comment for some people, but that just does nothing for me. But in terms of Dillian Whyte, sure, I want to see him get a title shot against anyone. I think he's earned a title shot. And if he beats Derek Chisora again, another guy that is sort of a top 20 guy in the division, it's more than just to stay busy. And clearly it's a money fight as well, and that's why he's taken it, because it's the risk versus reward, a great reward. But, you know, he is waiting in the wings if he beats Derek Chisora. That looks like a likely opponent for Joshua, should Deontay Wilder go another way. But Deontay Wilder does have these options. But I guess now it's the what is going to happen. Because things didn't really go to the script that Deontay Wilder would have hoped would have played out against Tyson Fury. Sure, he almost got the knockout, but he didn't get the knockout, and he didn't get the win. But Tyson Fury didn't get the win. But from what I've been able to observe online, with what happened in that fight, there seems to be a bit more credit that is being thrown Tyson Fury's way in general. Part of that is the comeback story, but also he was able to box really well for most of the fight. And when he got hit, and we all thought he might get hit in that fight, and he did get hit in that fight, he still got up. So in terms of Deontay Wilder's bargaining power, well, it's maybe not as enhanced as it may have well otherwise been with a knockout. And we still don't know what the pay-per-view numbers are. And I'm sure that Showtime and Deontay Wilder's team and representatives, they probably have some indication of what the numbers in general are at this point. They won't officially be announced for about a week or so after the fight. But in terms of the overall numbers and the revenue coming in, that's sure no doubt being tallied up in the days to come. But Deontay Wilder, he has to make a choice, because there's unfinished business here with Tyson Fury. Clearly there's unfinished business here. And a lot of people heading into this fight thought that Deontay Wilder wanted to freeze Anthony Joshua out. He wanted to try and make himself bigger, get the leverage that he could get in negotiations. And Wilder spoke about wanting power and leverage in Anthony Joshua negotiations. But I'm just not quite sure how much of that he got from the Tyson Fury fight. He's as big as he's ever been, but is that enough to rival Anthony Joshua's star power and commercial value? Because That's, effectively why Anthony Joshua is so much more of the A side in that fight. He brings in the revenue. This is the first pay-per-view event for Deontay Wilder, and a lot of people are giving the credit to Tyson Fury for helping sell the fight. It's a joint effort after all, and clearly they had to fight each other to get the result that they've come up with and generate the earnings that have been generated. But I don't think Deontay Wilder is as big as he could have been. And I'll get to a couple of things here, because the Mail, Eddie Hearn has spoken to the Mail. Eddie Hearn set to reignite Anthony Joshua fight talks, but won't rule out Tyson Fury showdown. And of course, he would say he won't rule it out because he wants a little bit of leverage with Deontay Wilder. So the 4 points here: Eddie Hearn will resurrect talks. The promoter has not ruled out the possibility of a clash with Tyson Fury. Hearn has a reservation at Wembley for April 13th. We knew that. Wilder's failure to defeat Fury has now gone in Joshua's favour. And I think some people, myself included, agree with that to a certain point. I mean, Deontay Wilder could have closed the gap a bit more had he sealed the deal, got that knockout. And I know a lot of people are saying that they thought the count was long, or that Fury was beaten and he should have been knocked out, the ref should have stopped it. But at the end of the day, it's in the books now. It is what it is. And I'm not going to dwell on the result for too much longer, because I thought Fury won by a couple of rounds. But if you do turn 1 or 2 rounds here or there, because some of them were low volume in the early going, well, I can see that a draw is a possible result. But I don't believe Deontay Wilder won that fight. I think a draw is as good as he could have got. And a lot of people are starting to warm up to, after having seen the replay, that actually maybe that was a fair result. I still think Fury won, but I'm not too not as mad at the draw as I once was. Okay, so we'll get to the quotes here in this Mail story. Speaking ahead of his flight to LA, Hearn told Sports Mail, "First, we need to find out what is happening with a Wilder-Fury rematch and whether the rematch clause we are hearing about is what it seems. If anything, the way that fight went on Saturday works in our favour in terms of getting Wilder. That has always been the fight we want because he has the last belt. Now, let's say he had beat Fury in 2 rounds. The negotiation would be a lot harder than after a draw, where many people think he was lucky to keep his WBC title. That goes in our favour. It might also be the case that Wilder fancies his chances in a punch-out with AJ rather than another go at Fury. As far as AJ is concerned, he will fight anyone. He would love to fight Wilder next and has always wanted Fury. I'm going out to LA and we will talk with Wilder's representatives this week. It's a fight we definitely want for April and we will work hard to make it. A fight in April is possible after Wilder reiterated his willingness to make it happen." Oh, it's not a quote, that's just something from the post-fight press conference that Wilder had said. Yeah, I guess in terms of the rematch talk, yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, Frank Warren is pushing for a rematch. He wants the WBC to order it. And who knows, maybe the WBC will. There is unfinished business. There's, I actually think Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, I'd like to see them run that back before an Anthony Joshua fight. But we will have to see how that goes. But in terms of what someone in the Wilder camp is saying, so Wilder's trainer and co-manager Jay Deers says, Wilder trainer, and this is on Boxing Scene, "If money is right, no issue with rematch in the UK." So JD's told BBC Radio he would want Wilder to take on Fury again before a potential fight with Joshua. "If it's something that people would like to see again, we would absolutely love to do it. Both guys put on a tremendous fight. If it were up to me, and only me, I would like to do the Fury fight first because I think there is unfinished business. If the money makes sense in the UK, I would love to do it there. Deontay has never had a problem with travelling. That's not the issue at all." And I guess in terms of what's happening there with those comments, there's certainly, I believe, there's unfinished business. And if you were to, the second fight, the rematch, is going to be a much bigger fight. It's going to pay Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder a lot more. And Deontay Wilder would think, actually, if I had a little bit more luck, if Tyson Fury had been a little bit slower getting up, I would have won that fight. He came close to knocking him out, almost did it. I guess he would think, even though he said he was forcing his punches, he still managed to catch up with him twice. He probably thinks he's still got a good chance to knock Tyson Fury out. And if he was a bit more calm and composed in the rematch, that he might be able to do it. I think he'd need to add a little bit more to his arsenal, and he spoke about not being able to land enough jabs, enough body shots in that fight. And I guess, if he does fight Tyson Fury, and if he does beat Tyson Fury, then obviously that makes the Anthony Joshua fight even bigger again, and it strengthens his negotiation, his bargaining power for that fight. So potentially we could see the rematch run back again, and I think a lot of people would want to see it. I mean, there was that Showtime poll, about 80% of people said, yeah, I want to see that fight. And sometimes I'm not a big fan of rematches, but because there was so much drama here, there was the controversy with the scoring, obviously there was the in-ring performance by Fury. It came better than advertised, better than a lot of people thought, and he managed to get the job done in terms of the boxing front. And Deontay Wilder, he also managed to get the job done in terms of knocking Fury down in the 9th and 12th rounds. It was a lot of drama, a lot of intrigue. I would want to see it again. And I guess this is a point that a lot of people have been raising, especially in recent comment sections since the fight was held, that if that knockdown had have happened in the United Kingdom, it probably would have been waved off quite early on. I don't think Fury would have been given as much leeway, and I agree with that. In the United Kingdom, from a lot of fights we've seen at heavyweight in recent times, there has been a bit of a tendency to err on the side of caution and wave it off. And I think Fury, he was probably, can count himself a little bit lucky that the ref gave him as much time as he did. Because a lot of us just thought he was out, that he was knocked out cold, but he managed to beat the count, somehow get up and continue on. And I will talk about Tyson Fury in another video in terms of the what next for him, just in terms of the can he stay motivated, because that's obviously going to be a big issue for him now. And especially if Deontay Wilder ends up facing Anthony Joshua, because, Tyson Fury needs a big challenge. And if the two biggest challenges are not there, well, what's he going to do? Who's he going to fight? How's he going to stay motivated? He says now he wants a break over Christmas to recalculate it, as he put it. But what does that really mean? Is he going to sort of sink into a bit of inactivity, not train as much, not stay as motivated, and get back into that downward cycle? I hope not. I really hope not. But Deontay Wilder, his team, they've got some bargaining power, they've got some choices, some options, but maybe their bargaining power and their strength in negotiations is nowhere near as strong as it otherwise would have been. But it's going to be interesting. But Eddie Hearn seemingly doing all he can, at least from, the outward-facing view, to try and make a Deontay Wilder fight. And he's probably right that Deontay Wilder isn't in as good a position as he otherwise could have been. And I think that was always the risk with this fight, that if Tyson Fury came better than advertised, and if he beat Deontay Wilder, well, that fight was gone. He's held on to his belt now, so we'll have to see where things go from here. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.